Hello, teachers, parents, and educational leaders, and welcome to this episode of Breaking Down the B.E.S.T. Now, during this episode, you will get a peek into the members-only area where I have tons of resources to help you make math fun, make it click, and make it stick. There should be a link somewhere around this video where you can learn more. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to it, and let's break down the standard. Welcome to Breaking Down the B.E.S.T, a video series dedicated to breaking down Florida's best standards for math. So grab something to write with and maybe even a snack. This looks good. And don't forget to put a smile on your face. There you go, I see you. And let's dive into today's best standard. Hello everyone, my name is Sarah McCarthy and I am super excited that you are taking time out of your crazy busy schedule to join me as today take a closer look at this standard. It's MA.5.AR.1.2. This standard says to solve real-world problems involving the addition, subtraction, or multiplication of fractions, including mixed numbers and fractions greater than 1. So mixed numbers are like these that have the whole number and the fraction, and a fraction greater than 1 would look like this, where our numerator is greater than the denominator. I give you a nice example right there of what these real-world problems might look like. And it says in the clarifications that instruction includes the use of visual models and equations to represent the problem. Now, by the way, this document that I am marking up all over is not something that I created. It's something that the Florida Department of Education releases to the public, so you can absolutely have access to it too. Mark it all up like I do, or in your own special way. But I'm just trying to show you how I take the standards, break them down in order to create the resources that are aligned to the B.E.S.T standards in taking on the B.E.S.T. The related benchmarks here. We've got these fractions, which involve adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators, and multiplying fractions. So these are more of the procedural, skill-based standards, where the AR 1.2 is throwing them into a real-world setting. So if you need more practice with adding, subtracting, and multiplying fractions, just straight up adding, subtracting, multiplying fractions, take a look at those standards. The state of Florida is saying that measurement conversions, perimeter and area with fractions and decimals, and representing numerical data, that these align with the standard. Okay? Vertical alignment. We've got this 4th grade standard, which 1.2 is adding and subtracting fractions with like denominators, and 1.3 is multiplying a whole number times a fraction and a fraction times a whole number. This 6th grade standard right here is adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing real-world problems with fractions. So incorporating that division piece to it as well. In this section, the purpose and instructional strategy section, here are some things that jumped out at me. That when adding or subtracting fractions, the fractions must refer to the same whole, the same denominator. So we can show this and have students practice this by using models to add, subtract, or multiply with fractions, which we do in the videos of taking on the B.E.S.T. I'll show you where those videos are, okay? This says, please note that it is not expected for students to always find a least common multiple, which to me sounds kind of confusing, but they are expected that students know and understand equivalent fractions and naming fractions greater than 1. Here, rename the fractions with a common denominator in lieu of the butterfly method. So generating those equivalent fractions, but we're not using any shortcut or mnemonic devices to do that with the B.E.S.T standards. I'm going to slow down right here, because for the common misconception and errors, this was kind of confusing to me. So students can often confuse the context that requires subtraction and multiplication of fractions, which is absolutely true, and I feel like I know where they're trying to go with this, but let's take a look at it. It says, for example, Mark has 3/4 yards of rope. So Mark has 3/4 yards of rope, and he gives half of the rope to the friend. How much of the rope does Mark have left? To me, this means that he has half of 3/4, which is what he gives to the friend. He gives the friend 3/8 of the rope. But in order to figure out how much he has left, you then have to take what he had originally, 3/4 of a yard, and subtract it by what he shared with the friend or gave to the friend, which was 3/8, which is what's demonstrated down here. Mark has 3/4 yard of rope, and he gives 1/3 of rope to a friend. How much rope is left? Expects the student to find, yeah, this makes sense. I guess what they're trying to say up here, it just was worded kind of weird, but a lot of times that multiplication and subtraction of fractions, it looks similar. But when it says he gives half of whatever quantity it is, that's when we're multiplying. If we're removing something from a total, then it would be subtraction. Okay? There's practice with that in the video lesson, so just so you know. And then these are some other sample problems that you can absolutely take a look at, but I do want to take this time and show you what you have access to in your membership of Taking on the Best. All right, so here we are on the web page. I'm going to members enter here. Taking on the Best, you might have to log in. 5th grade. We're on the AR strand. On this one, A.R.1.2, add, subtract, and multiply fractions and mixed numbers with real world problems. Okay, so if you are a bronze, silver, or gold member, you have access to this video lesson, which breaks down the standard for this, all right? So you just click play and I'll guide you through it, and this is where your students can take notes. Or you could even watch it beforehand if you want, but this incorporates all three in this video lesson: adding, subtracting, and multiplying. So it says Nick has 1 1/3 gallons of water. He purchases another 3 gallons from the store. So we're adding fractions there. Then he uses half of the water for a recipe, which means that we're multiplying because it's half of the quantity that he's finding. And then we're subtracting where he drinks 1/8 of the water. And we will have to change the denominator because we're going from 1/3 and 1/2 and 1/8. So we will have to change the denominator, which is demonstrated in that video lesson. So you can definitely check that out. If you have the silver or the gold plan, you have access to more. Let's see what you have. You've got your printables right here. This is your video lesson that we just took a look at. And then there's more practice right here. It's another day of practice. 2 extra practices that are similar to what we learned in the video lesson, but it gives the students an opportunity to work independently and use their notes that they took from the lesson to help them. This math mission right here is where students will create real-world problems for each of the expressions. So we're adding, subtracting, and multiplying and showing how that looks different. Then we have the Math Misconception Mystery video lesson. So you just click play right there. You can full screen it, and it walks the students through this video lesson. I suggest using this as a whole group or a small group because these are wonderful for student discourse, for conversation and friendly debates. So students will solve the problem independently. Then they will watch as 4 characters solve the problem. Those characters are me, dressed up in silly costumes, and 3 of the characters will make a mistake. Only 1 is correct. And after you witness all the characters' journeys into how they solve the problem, you'll complete this, your students will complete the detective report on this page, explaining who the most reasonable answer belongs to and evaluate the reasoning for the other characters, okay? Answer keys are right there. And then your gold resources. If you have the gold plan, you have access to more. You have a mini assessment right here. Okay, variety of question types. These mini assessments are usually 4 to 5 questions long. Here's your answer key. You have this version of Breaking Down the Best that is free of ads, unlike the YouTube version, which has ads in it. And it's nice because it's right here. It's right around all of your other resources that you need. And then, but probably the main reason of why you chose the gold membership would be because of the McCarthy Math 155 access. The 155 stands for 155 grade level videos that are aligned to the Common Core standards. Now, this is more of an intervention. So if you have students struggling with adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, this is the place to go. Click on 5th grade. Now, notice that it said the Common Core standards, so not everything aligns to the B.E.S.T standards, but there are a lot of practice videos that you can implement to help build those confidence muscles that you can then translate, that will translate over into the B.E.S.T standards. I hope that makes sense. So, operations with fractions right here, adding and subtracting fractions, multiplying fractions. There's also division of fractions, but if you need help there, boom, look, there's a video dedicated to converting fractions greater than 1 to mixed numbers, converting mixed numbers to fractions greater than 1. It's an intervention. It's designed to really help strengthen your students. Adding fractions with unlike denominators, adding mixed numbers. There's so much here. Subtracting with mixed numbers. Adding and subtracting with missing values. Modeling fractions with a drawing, multiplying fractions by modeling with a drawing, multiplying mixed numbers, all kinds of stuff, okay? So plenty of practice. That's why you probably selected the gold membership, was because you have tons of videos there. And I think that's it for this standard. So thank you so much for joining. I hope that this episode helped to break down this standard, to have it make sense for you, and now you see with your membership what you have access to help support your students and make learning fun, of course. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join me. I really do appreciate that. And thank you for all that you do for your students and for education. With that, I know that you're busy, so I will see you next time, okay? All right, bye. Okay, so I know that I just said goodbye for now, but I'm gonna ask you to do one more thing, okay? If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with your teacher friends or other leaders in education. That's how I get to continue doing what I love to do, which of course is supporting you all to the best of my ability. All right, for real now, bye.